Hey guys, and welcome back to MMA Nations. Colby Covington is next for the title shot, post-conference UFC 286, and Edwards' reaction towards it. Leon Edwards had just won his third fight against Kamaru Usman at UFC 286 when he learned that Colby Covington was announced as the new #1 contender for the welterweight division by UFC president Dana White. Edwards expressed his confusion as to how Covington, who had not fought in over a year and a half, would be chosen over other active fighters in the division for a title shot. Edwards particularly would like to settle an old grudge with George Masvidal, who he has a history with dating back to 2019 when they both won fights at a UFC card in London. Edwards shouted at Masvidal during his post-fight interview, which led to Masvidal confronting him and a subsequent brawl breaking out backstage. Even if Masvidal loses his upcoming fight against Gilbert Burns at UFC 287, Edwards still does not see how Covington deserves the next shot over more deserving fighters like Belal Muhammad, who has a 9-fight unbeaten streak. However, Edwards believes that now, as a champion, it's a great time to get revenge against Masvidal if he can get past Burns. Conor McGregor discusses his UFC return. It's been confirmed that Conor McGregor will make his return to the UFC in 2023 to fight Michael Chandler, marking his first fight since fracturing his tibia and fibula in a fight with Dustin Poirier at UFC 264 in July of 2021. McGregor has expressed interest in competing in the welterweight division in his quest to become the first 3-weight champion in UFC history, a title currently held by Leon Edwards. UFC President Dana White has now announced that McGregor will fight lightweight fighter Chandler, who has been campaigning for the fight and is willing to move up to welterweight. McGregor has bulked up significantly since his last fight, and Chandler has impressive knockout wins over Dan Hooker and Tony Ferguson, but has suffered losses to Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, and Dustin Poirier, who defeated him at UFC 281. Colby Covington on Khamzat and Khamzat's reaction to Colby Covington's statement. The undefeated fighter Khamzat Chimaev continues to generate significant buzz, but Colby Covington isn't impressed. Covington, who served as a backup for the main event at UFC 286, had some strong words for the 28-year-old fighter, whom he referred to as a dog-faced mother effer. According to Covington, Chimaev is unprofessional and he never wants to hear his name again. Before UFC 286, Covington spoke to reporters about a possible matchup against Chimaev, which UFC President Dana White had been discussing for months. However, the fight never materialized, and Covington has now been named the #1 contender at 170 pounds, while Chimaev is set to return to the octagon in October at middleweight. Now, Covington's frustration stems mostly from Chimaev's last appearance in September, when he was set to fight Nate Diaz, but ended up facing Kevin Holland after failing to make the welterweight limit and weighing in at 178.5 pounds. Despite this setback, Chimaev claims that he made every effort to secure the fight against Covington, which was offered to him multiple times. Khamzat Chimaev has responded to Colby Covington's recent criticism on his YouTube channel, stating that Covington is not being truthful when he says he doesn't want to fight him. Chimaev claimed that he accepted the fight against Covington 4 times and even had a conversation with UFC matchmaker Sean Shelby about it. Chimaev went on to swear on the Quran and his faith as a Muslim that he has accepted the fight multiple times.
I swear with everything I have. I swear with the guys. I accept the fight 4 times. And all the Muslims understand. I swear with Quran. I get 4 times call for a fight. I say yes. I have conversation with Sean Shelby. Can show it as well. So we're gonna fight with this guy. But it's never happened.
He also said that he had a brief encounter with Covington at the UFC Performance Institute in Las Vegas. Dustin Poirier calls for a rematch with Justin Gaethje. UFC lightweight fighter Justin Gaethje has expressed interest in a rematch with Dustin Poirier, whom he lost to in 2020. Gaethje stated that he wants to redeem himself and that he believes that he can now defeat Poirier in a rematch. In 2020, he faced off against fellow UFC lightweight Dustin Poirier, but was defeated by technical knockout in the second round of their fight. Since then, Gaethje has expressed interest in a rematch with Poirier, stating that he wants to redeem himself and prove that he's the better fighter. In an interview with ESPN, Gaethje spoke about his desire for a rematch with Poirier, stating that he believes he can defeat Poirier if given the opportunity. Gaethje also mentioned that he's made the offer for a rematch to the UFC, but it's unclear whether Poirier is interested in fighting him again at this time. Despite his loss to Poirier, Gaethje is still considered one of the top fighters in the UFC's lightweight division. He holds a professional record of 22 wins and 4 losses, with notable victories over other top UFC fighters such as Tony Ferguson, Edson Barboza, and Donald Cerrone. Now, Gaethje is known for his aggressive fighting style and powerful striking, which has earned him a large fan base in the MMA community. If a rematch with Poirier does come to fruition, it would likely generate a lot of interest from MMA fans around the world. Both fighters are highly skilled and have a lot of experience in the UFC, and their first fight was highly entertaining and competitive. However, whether or not a rematch happens remains to be seen, and fans will have to wait to see if Poirier is interested in fighting Gaethje again. Daniel Cormier reacts to Leon defeating Kamaru. Former UFC 2 Division champion Daniel Cormier recently praised Leon Rocky Edwards' performance in his championship defense against Kamaru Usman, calling it the performance of a lifetime. Edwards was able to showcase his technical striking skills in defense, frustrating Usman for the majority of the fight. Cormier, who was on commentary duties for the event, highlighted Edwards' calmness and composure throughout the bout, noting that the Englishman had truly earned his place as one of the best welterweights in the world. Cormier also had high praise for Justin Gaethje, whom he called his hero after his win over Rafael Fiziev in the co-main event. Gaethje, who had suffered back-to-back losses before the fight, put on a dominant performance, showcasing his power and grappling skills. Cormier, a former Olympic wrestler, was particularly impressed with Gaethje's takedowns, noting that they were a testament to the fighter's hard work and dedication to improving his overall game. Looking ahead, Cormier gave his take on what the future holds for both Usman and Edwards. He believes that the trilogy fight between the two will be an exciting one, but that Edwards will need to make some adjustments to his game plan to come out on top. Cormier also noted that Usman is a formidable champion and that he will likely continue to defend his title against the top contenders in the division. Francis Ngannou is close to signing with a new MMA promotion. Francis Ngannou has revealed that he's close to signing with either the Professional Fighters League, the PFL, or One Championship. Ngannou, who's currently the UFC heavyweight champion, has been a dominant force in the division with a record of 16-3-0 in his MMA career. However, he recently expressed his frustration with the UFC's pay structure and the lack of opportunities for fighters to earn more money. Francis Ngannou's exit from the UFC was a surprise, as he became the first champion in recent years to leave the promotion since BJ Penn in 2004. The MMA free agent expressed his belief that the heavyweight title belt is not the sole defining factor that makes him a champion, stating in the tweet that he'll continue to consider himself a champion regardless of the belt. "I'll still be a champion no matter what, so I am the champ." As a result, Ngannou has been exploring other options for his career. The PFL and One Championship are both attractive options for Ngannou. The PFL is a relatively new MMA organization that's gained a reputation for its innovative tournament format, which allows fighters to compete for a $1 million prize in their respective weight class. One Championship, on the other hand, is a more established organization that has a strong presence in Asia and has been making moves to expand its reach globally. Ngannou's potential move to either organization would be a major coup for the PFL or One Championship, as he is one of the most high-profile and talented fighters in MMA today. However, it remains to be seen which organization he'll ultimately choose, as both have their unique advantages and challenges. Sandhagen vs. Chito Vera. Corey Sandhagen vs. Marlon Chito Vera is set to take place at UFC Fight Night on March 25th. The two bantamweights are set to face off in what promises to be an exciting matchup between two highly skilled fighters. Marlon Vera, also known as Chito, is a skilled striker with a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, he's coming off a loss to former UFC featherweight champion Jose Aldo, but before that, he'd won 6 of his last 7 fights. Corey Sandhagen, on the other hand, is a versatile fighter with a strong background in kickboxing and wrestling. He has a record of 14-3-0 and is coming off a highlight reel knockout win over Frankie Edgar in his last fight. Sandhagen's striking skills and ability to control the distance will likely be the deciding factor in the fight. However, Vera is a tough opponent who should not be underestimated.